Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening to all of you. I hope I'm sounding okay. Amanda, can you please confirm that people can hear me? Because, okay, I hear that I'm sounding great. Okay, that's one thing that works okay then. First, we have to start off with an apology. Because higher forces saw to it that only last night daylight saving time started here in Europe. There was some confusion about the starting time of this webinar. Well, we keep the American time, so this means that here the people in Europe have to shift now to 5 o'clock. I think in 2 weeks time we have the same type of situation, because then daylight saving time in the United States will be starting, so we get confusion again. Maybe it's a good idea if we send out an email one day before, reminding everybody of these difficult time changes. It is actually pretty easy, just skipping 1 hour forward or backward, but in real life it always gets to all sorts of confusions, and this is one of them. Okay, well, here we are, week 3 of the MetroAg MOOC. After this webinar, half of the series is already behind our backs, and that's pretty fast. So, and maybe we get used to working along these lines, and it will go a little bit more fluidly than in the beginning. Okay, today we are going to talk about what we have called sustainable revaluation as one of the strategies you can use to set up new P business in the agribusiness sphere. But first, this one. I have to show you this. This tells you that everything you hear and see now is covered by a Creative Commons license, which means that everything you hear here can be used by you and everybody else, as long as you mention the source of it. We are not here to keep this information to ourselves. We are here to spread it, and spread it as much as possible. Okay, this week this is the person that is talking to you. I'm Henk van Laterstein. I'm now sitting here in Rotterdam. It's hot. It's springtime, first days of spring. So daylight saving time came at the right moment in time. Actually, it's the shame of being inside. You should be outside now in our country, because you never know how long it lasts. But okay, I'm gonna stick with you for at least 1 hour to do this webinar. Okay, what we're gonna do the next 55 minutes or so are 8 steps. Gonna start off with a recap of week 1 and 2. So where are we? Then we're gonna delve into this notion of sustainable revaluation as a value creation strategy. Come up with some mechanisms of how do you do that, and 2 examples. And like last week, we're gonna shine a little light on these examples by showing you the underlying value creation models. End off with learnings from these examples, and at the end of the presentation I will show you the assignment for this week that you can use to tap in your thoughts and ideas in the forum. Okay, let's start with the recap. I found this quote not by Napoleon Bonaparte but Napoleon Hill. Apparently this is a writer who started off by doing important work in the personal development literature, and his idea was that an idea or a plan or a purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition on thought. Well, probably that's true. So here we go with the repetitions of week 1 and week 2. In week 1 we told you what exactly is this whole idea of metropolitan agriculture. It is about innovative forms of agriculture in, around and for cities or megacities of the world. And what we do in metropolitan agriculture propositions is we create people, planet and profit values together. So we call it triple P value creation instead of ordinary value creation, which is normally just about money. And you do this by reintegrating agriculture in the metropolitan environment, and then we have already saw some examples of what new ideas will pop up. By doing that, you really contribute to a sustainable development, because combining this triple P value creation is something that leads you to what you might call a next level of doing business, and this next level is way better than the level you are at present times. There are 3 strategies to do that. One is sustainable diversification. We talked about that last week. The second is sustainable revaluation. That's going to be the topic this week. And the third one is sustainable intensification. And not surprisingly, that's the topic of next week. In week 2, we looked at sustainable diversification. And this all starts by the idea by looking at what other values related to planet issues you are already serving by agricultural activities. So what you're already doing. Link those activities then to developing needs of metropolitan population and link them to people values. Identify then new partners that you need to develop new product market combinations and develop that into business that really addresses the triple P value issues. We had 2 examples. Green care, it was about care farming in a larger context, and northern freezing woods, where a region started to develop several different product market combinations that really point out the relevance of this way of approaching stuff. Okay, this week we're going to look at another value creation strategy, and we call that sustainable revaluation. Now here confusion steps in, because in the book it is called sustainable valorization, but our colleagues from Michigan State University pointed out that valorization was not the right term here. It really should be revaluation. So in the next edition of the book we will change that, but for now please bear in mind that these words in the book are used a little bit differently. So what is it all about? It is about this quote that you cannot just pushing harder and keep to old boundaries for real development. If you really want to develop something, you need to shift your boundaries. Now how do you do that? In this strategy. The overall idea is that you can open up existing markets by combining stuff. So what do we mean here? Well, you have to be alert for what you can call a new positioning opportunity for an agricultural entrepreneur. There are a lot of things that you're already doing that are of value to consumers or neighbors or people in the vicinity of your production location, but are at present not part of your business model. The next step would be to create what you can call innovative links with chain and network partners, because most of the time these new ideas are very hard to perform yourself. So you need other partners to do so. And in the 2 examples of today, these partnerships will become very apparent, I hope. Then what you do in developing your business is that you use the notion of sustainability to organize what you might call a win-win situation, and replace that with the normal added cost thinking if you want to develop agricultural production in, let's say, a more animal friendly or environmental friendly direction. Normally the instant reaction would be, well, this would only add to my factor cost and my market position would be would worsen if I do so. But if you redesign your business, you really come up with added value in new arrangements. In order to do so, I already mentioned that you need to invest in new partnerships. This means new change, new processes, new relationships, and new professional skills. Now, if this is also apparent, why don't we do it? And we already showed you this in the first week, but I think it's, as I said, repetition needs to be done in order to place an idea in the head of everybody. There are three things that really hold you back in normal day-to-day routine. Normally in the business sphere you are engaged in competition, and competition is taking up all your attention. And if all your attention is taken up by competition, there is no room to step back and reassess what you are doing at present. But the same goes for complacency. If you are doing very well in your business and respect and position and money wise everything is ship shape, why should you bother and start changing stuff? And the third difficulty holding you back is complexity of doing the stuff that I just described. Why would you organize yourself in complex relationships with people around you if it only adds to the complexity of your day-to-day routine? So we have to bear in mind that these obstacles are always around the corner, and you can come up with all sorts of nice idea, but trying to execute them, you really have to overcome a number of these obstacles and see to it that you keep the fun going and the business development going. Okay, the whole idea of sustainable revaluation is start new corporations to open up existing markets that are already there but are not touched upon by agricultural entrepreneurs. And this is not a sort of vague type of business, because one of, let's call them the hard business scientists of today's world, Michael Porter, put this in a paper. The link to the paper is on the website, and his statement is that creating shared values, as he called it, really constitutes what he calls an evolution in capitalism. Now you can set up a scientific or even philosophical discussion whether it is possible to share values, and that you probably should not use the word sharing, but it's more apt to use the word connecting values, and by connecting values create new stuff. But that's more for an in-depth analysis of what we're dealing with here. And there again on the website there are links to publications that deal with these issues, and for those who are interested in these issues, please go and have a look and make your mind up yourself how to deal with this. So okay, in order to start sharing or even connecting values, you need to first identify them, of course. Now the whole notion of revaluation is that you start mostly with identifying what is mostly called intangible values. Intangible values are mostly related, as this diagram is showing you, to natural capital stuff and human capital stuff. You can think of things like trust or relief or authenticity or respect. Those are real values, but most of the time those values don't play a significant role in, let's call it, the economic world of tangibles. Now the trick, of course, is to change or transform these intangible values into tangible assets, and you do that transformation by connecting those values to by connecting the intangibles to the tangibles. I see that there is some discussion here on the forum on the URL of the website. Well, this is not what Nord just typed in, but maybe somebody from MSU can give the website of the MetroAg course where the links to the different publications that I just mentioned can be found. Okay, back to the diagram here. The challenge then is to find ways of connecting intangibles like trust or authenticity to tangibles like a position in a market, margins, or even economic gains. Now, a connecting point becomes apparent if you start thinking about what makes people tick. And there are 4 examples here. If you talk to people from the business community, what makes them tick is continuity of the business. And how do you get continuity? By having a firm position in the marketplace, Black figures, preferably every year, once in so many years. Especially in agribusiness, they will be red, but on average they should be black, otherwise you will be out of business. So continuity is really what's driving the business community. Now, government people that you want to attract into your development trajectory are always in there to see to it that their power position is being safeguarded. So if you can connect your tangible, intangible values to gaining on a power position of people in your local or regional government, then you have a sort of open line of discussion that you can follow up on. Academia, people from universities or knowledge institutes are driven by what is called peer recognition. They need to be recognized for what they are doing in their specific field by their colleagues. And if they're respected by their colleagues, this means that their position in the academia is secure. And for societal groups, most of them are looking for a respected place on what you might call the agenda or the social agenda or the societal agenda. They wanted to be taken seriously. Now, please think about these things a little, and I have a question for you. Can you imagine some intangible values like, you know, the one that I just presented to you, like authenticity and stuff like that, that are potentially useful to transform into a tangible value proposition in metropolitan agriculture? So can I have some suggestions from you in the chat box here, and see if you can come up with some ideas? Some of you, multiple attendees are typing. Well, that's good. Okay, Noord said trust. Renee, Stefan, partnerships, community. More on that? Yep. Well, indeed, trust, and I will see to come to the examples, is an important one. If you can organize trust and really organize it in a business-like fashion, it is really valuable to your development. Poverty, well, as a value, I hope you mean poverty alleviation then. If you can do something to alleviate poverty and do that in a structured way, you're right. Confidence and trust are a bit in the same league. Conservation, probably of nature conservation, I think then. Personal responsibility, well, yeah, that's a good one, but to organize that in a business proposition is a bit difficult. Well, now the ideas are really flowing. Historic context, social network, egalitarianism, eradicate poverty. Yep, there we are. Yep, well, you're all thinking in directions that a lot of people are thinking. You can start with ideas like trust and honesty and community sensitivity. Use that, look at your own business and see if you can improve your business using precisely those types of values. Now, the two examples that I'm going to present to you are two different examples that try to use different intangible values to come up with a business proposition that differed a little bit from the ordinary. Okay, the first one is called, in Dutch, Mijn Boer. The translation is my farmer. They use this word, my farmer, or Mijn Boer, as I'm going to call it, by denoting the fact that authenticity was really the driving force here. People should not think about a farmer that produced their food, but they would be talking about Mijn Boer or my farmer. This is my farmer. This is the guy or girl that produces the food that I am consuming. And the vision of Mijn Boer, of the enterprise Mijn Boer, was and still is making healthy and tasty food available for all. How do you do that? By organizing on a number of these intangible values, and a number of them were also given by you in the chat box here. Values like authenticity and confidence. The whole starting point in the Mijn Boer proposition is building on what you can call user-producer relations. They are central. In a normal chain situation, the chain is driven by margins or money, and most of the time the producer has no clue who the end consumer of his product will be. And on the other end of the line, the consumer has no clue where the stuff that they are buying in the shop is coming from. Now, Mijn Boer tried to change that a little bit. Again, as in the earlier presentations, we have a small film clip that will give you an introduction on this whole notion of Mijn Boer. And if all goes well, yes, and it goes well, Amanda will now start the film clip. It's about 5 minutes, and it gives you an idea of what we're talking about here.
Nowadays, a large part of the world's population lives in cities or urbanized areas, also in the Netherlands, a tendency that is increasingly growing. To ensure that life can be fully enjoyed in these urban areas, aspects such as the shortage of space, logistics, the need for space to live and work, recreation and enough food all demand the right solutions.
As a market gardener, we deliver directly to the consumer, and as owner of the product, we're responsible ourselves for the product range and the freshness and experience of the product.
The modern consumer is making more and more demands on his nutrition. He wants sustainably produced products, he wants regional products, but at the same time he wants affordable and readily accessible products. These aspects ask for a highly transparent food chain, and only when we're able to create this transparent food chain is the consumer prepared to pay for sustainably made products. And will the producer get a return on the investments he has to make in sustainability?
Consumer choice depends on the merchandise displayed on the supermarket shelves, and the purchasing policy of many supermarkets is more likely to be influenced by price than by aspects such as sustainability, flavor and quality, which doesn't really encourage food producers. For no matter how sustainable their production methods are, and despite the amount of care and attention they devote to flavor and quality, selling this produce through traditional marketing channels hardly generates any extra income compared to using conventional production methods, making it virtually impossible for these producers to make further investments in sustainability. So, more and more farmers and growers join forces in organizations such as Mijn Boer, and in this way do manage to make the distinctive, sustainable character of their produce tangible for the consumer. The short links and the attention paid to sustainability and transparency exemplify a truly new food chain. The farmer sells his produce through alternative channels, such as landmarked. Landmarks are modern covered marketplaces which specialize in ultra-fresh regional produce and are located on the outskirts of a city, a place where the city and the countryside can converge.
At our city market garden in Amsterdam, we're happy to welcome people to come and have a look at the way vegetables are being grown sustainably in an attractive setting, close to the city. The link with the consumer we're striving for is very interesting to us because it tells us what we'll have to cultivate and grow. At the same time, it offers consumers a very inspiring experience in that they can see and discover for themselves how we grow our products in a sustainable fashion.
The alternative marketing channel receives a percentage of the farmer's or grower's turnover. The producer still owns the produce, even if it is displayed on the shelves. Due to the absence of any middleman, the margins for the producer are higher, so that he can also make long-term investments aimed at sustainability. A win-win situation.
Together with the changed role the producer plays within the chain, we see a shift in the position of the processing industry, and this will really have to take more responsibility and has to be fully accountable for the developments which are now taking place within the chain.
This chain integration can only be created through the interaction between the city and the countryside, which makes it an example of metropolitan agriculture. Chain integration can also take a different route. For instance, A supermarket chain can consciously decide to position more sustainably produced goods in the shelves and meet consumer needs in this way. One supermarket taking this approach is Super de Boer.
The present price differences between conventionally and sustainably made products are too big. That means that the opportunities for sustainably made products are simply too limited. By choosing as a retailer to cooperate structurally with producers, non-governmental organizations, knowledge institutes and scientists, it becomes possible to invest in a more sustainable chain. Together with all parties involved, we've made agreements with regard to the demands placed on more sustainable, fresh products.
These new alliances between the city and the country offer better guarantees of doing optimal justice to sustainability in the food chain.
Okay, I saw in the chat box that again there seems to be some problem with sound or video. Well, here in Rotterdam I have to say that both sound and video were crystal clear, so apparently it has to do something with the location that you are in. Again, if you did not could not have a look at this film clip, the link to the film clip is on the website, and it's also in the email that was sent to you 10 minutes before this webcast or so you can have a look at it again. The whole idea of the film clip and the examples in the film clip is that there is a movement visible, not only in the Netherlands, of course, it's all around the globe, where everybody is looking for new chain arrangements that really put, let's call it a real and tangible price on the asset of transparency and the asset of authenticity and traceability. Now, this Mijn Boer proposition that we just saw in the movie, and in the book there's a chapter fully committed to this Mijn Boer idea, boils down to this diagram. What you see here, and again you can study it again in the book, and yes, it is the course book, the PDF of the course book that you can download as soon as you have registered to this course. You can find all the materials in this book. Well, in Mijn Boer you see that the producer in this new chain arrangement is really what you might call respected, and there is a price paid for the extra effort that he or she puts in the quality or traceability or visibility of the product. The other thing is that the producer here is not only related to the market through a price relationship, which is normally the case. So you have a trader, and the trader buys his product from a producer that he can buy the stuff from for the lowest price. In this Mijn Boer situation, this is not the case. Here you have a complete chain of producers that set up a contractual relationship based on mutual trust and mutual respect. On the other end of the chain, there we have the consumers, you know, in the different types of marketplaces, and in some arrangements, even the producers are obliged to be at this marketplace, let's say every Saturday, once a month or so they can have a look at how their products is being placed in this marketplace, and they can also receive feedback from their consumers and use that feedback to improve on their product or the product presentation or what have you. Again, in normal chains there is no feedback situation like this, so there is no internal drive for improving on precisely these type of aspects that are worthy for the consumer but in the current normal price-driven market situation with traders in between is not valued at all. Now this main boer project was set up during our Transforum project in the Netherlands, and now it is totally accepted, you might say, in the market. It used to be a niche operation, so an alternative route. The mainstream players in this market thought that this was so interesting that they said, well, we're not going to wait until they take over, we're going to take over Mijn Boer. You can look upon that as from both sides, of course. You can say, well, that's a pity because we had an interesting niche, and now it's only a sub-label of mainstream. The other way of looking at it is by doing precisely this, transferring from a niche player to a mainstream label, you are really entering into the market and make a difference. And well, that is precisely what has happened with this Mijn Boer development. Niche idea based on quality, traceability, transparency. Now it is a label of a big company that, and again, they do not lower the ambition of the Mijn Boer label at all, but they take it up as part of their regular business. Okay, second example, and this is one I personally really like because it really shows you that you need new partnerships and new ways of cooperation to get things going. Again, this quote is really suited for the situation. If you're in a knowledge economy, then a company is not an asset, but it is an organization with a goal, and the goal can be achieved along different lines, and you really have to deal with how do you want to achieve your goal and how do you organize your chain and your company and your business so that this goal is really achieved. That's what the rondel is all about. So what is the rondel? The rondel is a new way of producing eggs. It was started as a research project at the Wageningen University, and the idea that these researchers at Wageningen University started with was, okay, how would a henhouse look like if not man would design it, but if we gave the drawing board and the pencil to a chicken and asked the chicken, okay, how would your ideal world look like? They call this this research project the quest for the golden egg. And again, to start off, and I really hope that the technique will not let us down here. There is a film clip. This is a bit longer, about 7 minutes, that gives you an insight in all the research that has been performed before the whole development of the rondel business case really started off. So let's start with the movie, and Amanda is putting it up right now.
The way we produce hen's eggs is increasingly offending modern ethical standards. In fact, to such an extent that by 2012 in Europe, the currently commonly used battery cage will be banned. Politicians, consumers and poultry farmers would actually all like to see changes and create a socially acceptable way of producing eggs. But how can we keep the hen in such a way that the hen, the consumer and the poultry farmer are all reasonably content? A research team from Wageningen University and Research Center in the Netherlands made a concise analysis of the wishes and ideas of poultry farmers and consumers. And to find out what the hens wanted, it carefully studied their behavior. The results suggest that a new housing system for laying hens would contribute to a farming sector that society would be proud of, house contented animals, and offer the farmer an acceptable income and extra pride in his work. Laying hens must have the space to exercise their normal behavior. Both hens and housing system must be robust. Should hens have access to an outdoor yard? Many people like the idea, but when this happens, the hens run greater risks, for instance of disease. Some needs seem to contradict each other. Instead of contrasting these needs, we have, as far as possible, brought them into harmony by asking further and by involving farmers and consumers in the design process itself. The surprising results led to two designs, the roundel and the plantation. Not blueprints, but just two quite different ways to show that socially acceptable hen housing systems are practically feasible. Both designs offer the hen the space to behave naturally. Numerous studies have shown us quite precisely what hens like or dislike. If we meet these demands, they do not have to be beak trimmed, a practice that currently is widely applied to prevent pecking and cannibalism. Beak trimming will be forbidden in several countries in the EU in the coming time. The roundel provides vision and expresses solidity and safety. A central part skillfully provides access to all technology and lets the farmer clearly see everything. In a ring of segments around the center are the pens where layers eat, drink, lay and rest. These living units allow the hens to use all the facilities they need without getting in each other's way. The roundel is surrounded by a large covered free-range area that provides access to a second free-range area above the pens. While temperature is always 20 degrees, the free-range area provides a natural outdoor environment. So the bird can choose its own preferred location. Litter material such as wood shavings is supplied automatically and removed with the help of the hen's free-range behavior and with a little technical assistance. Technology offers the poultry farmer an extra hand. The roundel protects both chicken and farmer and appeals to consumers who are concerned about safety and animal care. The roundel's most important features include everything is under one roof, there are 2 climate zones, the hens are separated from wild birds, the free-range area provides sufficient parallels to natural life, the pens smartly combine space for resting, laying, eating and drinking. There is a central technology and viewing room. The second design is called the plantation. What is immediately striking is the courtyard, a long, oval inner space. The rest units are to the left of the courtyard, to the right are the units for laying, eating and drinking. Each activity of the hen has its own place on the plantation. These places and their position fit the daily routine so hens can easily reach all areas. The design is also conveniently workable for the poultry farmer. Machines can drive on the courtyard and manure is removed automatically from the units. The courtyard is normally not covered, but can be quickly closed if it rains or if there is threat of disease. Around the plantation are 2 large land sites, ideally a minimum of 3 hectares or 7 acres each, which have a double function. They are large enough for profitable crop production, but also offer the hens the extra possibility to explore and forage. The plantation appeals to consumers who want the hen to have a dynamic life, originally combining nature and technology. The plantation in summary. The plantation has an open courtyard which can be covered if it rains. The units and courtyard provide all the natural requirements for the hens. Next to it are 2 external areas for hens and crop production. The design demands an active and resilient chicken, ready and able to find its own food. The design is in accordance with the hen's daily routine. The plantation and the roundel. Both designs show that a commercial production of eggs can go together with hen contentment, the health of man and animal, and an image which fits the ideals of consumer groups. The designs show the possibilities, but should not be taken as a prescription. There is plenty of room for a diversity of farming systems, for different types of hen, different poultry farmers, and different consumers, and so for different markets and prices. The plantation and the roundel are examples to serve as inspiration for socially responsible egg production. A poultry farming system, even a hen could learn to love.
Okay, let's stop this one. All right. Again, I saw that there was some trouble, but I hope most of you could have a look at this film clip. What is interesting, I think, is that what you saw here was the impression of the research. Now, in real life, both research ideas were taken up by other parties trying to make them into real life businesses. It turned out that well, that relates to the questions that are popping up. Right? What are the costs of managing these types of things? Well, it turned out that the plantation, so the second one, the elongated stable with the in-between space with the electrical roofs, turned out to be way too expensive, and it just didn't do the trick in the real world. As opposed to the roundel, because the roundel was a concept that could be further developed into a business proposition that really took off. And I'll skip to this slide here. This still is a diagram, but at present 3 of these roundels are already built, 2 are in the process of being built, and many more are underway, are discussed. Now, if you compare the real life situation that is just given in this graph here with the original idea, was that the original idea was just about hen production, and it was not so much about what do you do with the people living around in the region, what do you do with the logistics. So when developing the real thing, these transportation elements and these elements of how do we open up this facility to the public really turned out to be really crucial. In the real roundel as it is now, it is not only designed in such a way that the animals are doing extremely well in this system, but you can go over to a roundel hen house and visit it, you know, almost every day of the week. It's open to the public. You can go in there and have a look. There's a visitor's entrance, and you can have a look at the animals. Of course, there is a window in between because there is always the risk of spreading a disease, but that's been taken care of. And not only that, in the core building of the roundel there are 2 meeting rooms, and the farmer can rent these meeting rooms out to people that might be interested in doing that. When we started it out, we thought that this was just a sort of extra add-on. In real life, it turns out that these meeting rooms are fully booked year-round. Again, this is an extra source of income for the farmer. Now, what you see in this graph here is that in the roundel situation, the farmer, by setting up this system, really gets to a good income. 80 to 90% of the eggs that he has produced will be bought by the roundel company, and the roundel company, I'll come to that in a minute, is a sort of central service provider here. By doing that alone, the net income of the farmer is comparable to the net income of henhouse farmers all around. But added to that, he can additionally sell the 10 or 20% extra eggs that he also produces in an area of about 20 kilometers around the stable. This is to avoid market distortions. And of course, he can add income by renting out these meeting places. If he does that, or when he does that, and we now have 2 years of experience with these stables, it turns out that the income situation for the farmer is really, really good. And the payback time for the investment in the stable are taken care of within the business proposition altogether. So from a business perspective, this is good business. Now from a consumer perspective, part of the business is the animal welfare that's being taken care of in this farm is visible to everybody. I mentioned that before, and that turns out to be extremely important. Everybody can come over and have a look at this stable. In our country, animal activists did that. They went to this stable, saw what was happening in there, and the Monday after the visit, they phoned up the Roundale company and asked the Roundale company if they could do a radio commercial financed by this animal activist party, trying to persuade the public to buy these eggs, because by buying these eggs you really took care of animal welfare in a good way. Again, this is the best type of marketing you can get, of course, if you set up an egg production system like this, and your former enemies, as it were, are now your allies, and not even that, they are your marketing agent. Part of the proposition of developing the Roundel was that the animal protection agency, so it's not the activist agency but more a sort of foundation in our country that takes care of animal protection issues at a let's call it a more what's the word, a governmental level. So they are talking to government, trying to improve animal welfare situations. They looked at these plans and they said, we are willing to give you a 3-star rating for this type of egg production system, even before the first one was built. That and the 3-star rating is the highest they can give. So you can use this 3-star rating, put it on the box of your eggs, and put that out into the marketplace. Not only that, because this 3-star rating was there, we could go over to one of the largest retailers in our country and say, hey, we have this new system here. We can produce eggs that have a 3-star rating and we can deliver them to you, and you can sell them as a sort of special brand in your supermarkets. And if you do that, then we're gonna need a contract with you that renegotiates, as it were, the terms of contract between an egg producer and a retailer. Normally, the egg producer doesn't even do that because there's always trade in between. In this situation, the producer is sitting at the table through the Roundale company with the people from the supermarket, and they came to an agreement that the changes in fodder prices, which some of you might know is the crucial element in the egg business, when there are changes in the feed prices, these changes of prices in feed can be taken up in the price that the retailer will pay to the farmer for the egg. Now this is totally new, because in a normal situation this never will happen, and this means that, you know, the continuity of the egg farmer is really relating on external costs that he cannot control, and the retailer has a fixed price for the eggs, mostly also in a long year contract. So at the end of the day, the farmer is always the losing party in the situation. This is not the case in the Roundale situation, because there the margin is divided between the producer and the retailer. So that's a new situation. And for the consumer, of course, it turns out that being able to go over and watch there, that you don't even need to do it yourself, but the fact that you can go over there and have a look, and that other people can do so, and they testify on their visits on the internet, really makes this a sort of marketable item. Of course, it has to be visible in the marketplace as well. So the whole thing again illustrates that if you want to really, that was the theme of today, reevaluate an asset like animal welfare, then it's not enough to just redesign a stable, but you need to redesign the whole chain and organize indeed new types of linkages between these players in the chain and come up with a proposition that will stay there for many years. So this is actually an actual picture of the first Roundale farm when it was opened. This is about 2 years ago, a year and a half. But it's not just about this stable, it is also about how do you position your stuff on the market. This picture shows you one of the presidents of the Ahold company. That's the retailer that's taking care of let's call it the eggs are sold through the supermarkets that are owned by the Ahold company. This president of the Ahold company points to the boxes that were specially designed for these eggs. They are made of biodegradable stuff, and there are 7 eggs in the boxes. And the idea here is that you sell 7 eggs for every day of the week. The real point, of course, is that consumers do have some sort of price feeling for eggs, but not a price feeling for the price of 7 eggs. So from a perspective of a consumer, it's much more easy to buy a box of eggs that has a price attached to it that sort of relates to you, as opposed to coming up with a box that contains 12 eggs, but the price is somewhat higher than the regular price, because the price is higher here. When we started out this trajectory, everybody said this will never work because consumers are not willing to pay more for an egg, and that's true. If you don't change the rest of the proposition, I think they are right. But if you do change your proposition and you do some marketing and you really take care of the fact that you are turning intangible assets into tangibles and show that to your public, then they will pay the price that's needed to make this happen. Now, this is a sort of intensive type of egg production, but it's really animal friendly. It's open, it's transparent, and it's now sort of advocated as the best there is. Our point is always, well, it's the best there is at this point in time. There are lots of ways in which you can improve on, but this is the best we can achieve now. But we are also continuing to work on improving the whole chain proposition and make it work. Well, this is to show you that you have to do some advertising tricks. Also, this is our former minister, Minister of Agriculture in our country, showing to the public that she really likes these Roundale eggs and she is buying them also. So again, this is the whole notion of Roundale. I have to speed up a little because time is really running out. The value creation model here is essential, as was discussed last week by Sander. You already know this by now. The value creation model connects your USP, your unique selling point, to the results. The results have to be translated in typical investments for your situations, and the investments lead to competencies that keep up your unique selling point. In the Mijn Boer case, this is the value proposition, value creation model of the Mijn Boer case. The unique selling point were, experience, education, storytelling, and this translates into results as good prices for the producers, a larger range of good quality fresh products. You need to invest in loyalty, not only to your producers but also to your customers. We talked about that, and it leads to competencies in the sphere of partnership building and organizing this chain as a responding and a responsive entity. Well, again, you can look at this in more detail if you take the time for it. The overall picture of Mijn Boer is that you change the whole chain of fresh product from price-driven, which is normally the case, to a trust-driven chain. And that's really the essence here. And by building on trust and making it visible and translate it into a contract, then you really set up something that stands out. And as I told you before, it stands out in such a way that the regular business is now moving over into this direction and reshaping. Now the value creation of Roundel, that's a bit different, of course. Here the unique selling point is that there is an egg that is produced by the hens by respecting fully the animal welfare expert. It is environmental friendly. We didn't go into that, but there's much more about this table in terms of environmental blending in. And the housing system that is open to consumers. So it's no longer a closed factory or factory farm that you have no access to. You can go in there and have a look how it operates. You brand what you get out of there, and you get a preferred supplier relationship with a retailer in this case. This leads to revenues that you invest in the housing system, in the visitor facilities, and in a sort of certification scheme that keeps your eggs, up front. You have to be the best in class. Then you can do a trick like this. If you slip on that, then you lose your position. So your market, your competencies that you have to develop here is real market orientation and entrepreneurship. So move when the boundary conditions are shifting. So far for the value creation model of Roundel, what are the learnings from these experience or experiments? Well, again, the quote here is, management is about doing things better, so gaining on operational efficiency. Leadership is about doing things better, and that's what these both examples are all about. Not improving on what you're already doing, but redesigning on what you're doing and come up with a new proposition. So the learnings, to sum them up, is that you really need a translation for relevant values to become tangible. You just cannot go out there and say, we're gonna really take care of animal welfare, and you will see that we can put this on the market. You need to rethink and redesign the whole chain in order to get there. Second point here is you even need to talk to your adversaries or enemies to find out what the real values are. As in the example of Roundel, the animal activist at the end of the day became almost the marketing agents for the Roundel concept. Now, then you really have shifted the way in which you are operating in society. Third point is you need to do innovation. If you want to do innovation through revaluation, so if you want to value intangibles, you will need a full redesign of the chain. That comes out time and again. If you just organize a sort of local improvement, that will not be sufficient. And co-creation, meaning that you set up this business using input from everybody, not your own ideas, but everybody you can attach to the idea, is a very, very powerful marketing instrument. Not only a powerful development and designing instrument, it's also a very powerful marketing instrument, because your co-creators are all co-owners of the idea and will see to it that your idea will live through. Okay, this was the I have 1 minute left, so let's take a few minutes more this week. The assignment for this week is up now. The assignment is, how would you describe the differences between the two innovation strategies we have discussed so far? So, sustainable diversification in last week and sustainable revaluation this week. Please compare and contrast a few of these projects that we presented to you and see to it if you can really pinpoint the differences in these different strategies. That really might help you to come to a better understanding of what we are talking about, and it might help us to come up with better words and better examples to make this transparent to you and everybody else we want to convey this story to. The assignment is out on the forum, so you can go to the forum and have a look at it again, and please put in your ideas on what the differences are between these two innovation strategies. Okay, so far for this week's webinar, are there some burning questions that need to be dealt with now, or can we leave that to the forum discussion? I'll just have a look at the chat box here. Sander just points out there is nothing from the earlier chats, so everything is crystal clear then. And James, thanks for stretching his thinking. Well, it's stretched already a lot, James, as I recall. Oh, this is about making things available. Okay. I'll just wait for another minute or so to see if something pops up. Well, group, thank you if you find these talks useful and inspirational. I still feel it's a bit awkward sitting here in my own room with a headset on my head and talking to you without a real one-on-one, but okay, maybe we can change that in the future. Okay, if there are no more real issues that we have to deal with now, then I wish you lots of success with these assignments, and of course I hope that you come up with not only observations but also questions in our direction on, you know, what is it that you're really dealing with, and do I understand correctly that this is what the essence is of these different strategies, because that really not only will help you but also will help us. Okay, thanks again for tuning in. 1 week from now we will deal with the third innovation strategy. It's sustainable intensification. Sander will be taking care of that, so hope to see you next week. There will be no time issues then, because it will be 5 o'clock European time, and well, whatever time you're dealing with. And as stated before, when the United States will shift to daylight saving time, we will give notice from that so that everybody will tune in at the right time. Okay. Thanks everybody, have a great week, do post on the forum, and keep on thinking and rethinking of what we're doing here. Okay,